Time now for my review for season 1 of Ahsoka, which aired on Disney Plus. Riley would be joining me, however, she is currently back in Puerto Rico visiting family. During the September 2023 vlog, by the way, link below in the description section, Riley did give her opinion about what she thought of Ahsoka season 1 prior to the season finale, which I'm including in this review right now. So how do you feel about Ahsoka so far?
Without any spoilers?
Yeah, with one episode left, no pressure.
Okay, I feel that it's okay. It's not fully grabbing me yet. It's just like, it's okay, it's there. Like, if I didn't ever see it again, I wouldn't care. It's just okay. It's just, I guess, it's okay entertainment. But it's not blowing me, like, it's not blowing my head like, oh my god, it's insane kind of deal. It's just there. Now, that's just my opinions. I just think that the characters are okay, and Ahsoka's alright, and the rest of the characters is like, oh, okay.
Do you feel like it's gotten better since the first two episodes?
Well, it's gotten better, but that's not saying much when the first 3 episodes were just like, ugh.
Yeah. It's not Andor better.
No, it's not Andor better. It's just mid, maybe a little going into an average.
Okay.
And maybe slightly above, like a 6.
All right.
You know, like a 6 out of 10 or a 6.5. But it's just, I'm not impressed. Like I said, if I stopped watching it and like the next episode never came out, I wouldn't care. Because I would just keep going with my life and just watch something else. I don't know. I guess I'm just not as invested as you are.
Which is strange because you also watched Clone Wars and Rebels. So.
Yeah, I do watch Star Wars a lot and I do care. It's just that I don't care too much about Ahsoka.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just, there's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm burnt out on Star Wars or I just don't care enough. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Thanks, Riley. We did do the season premiere review together. And overall, I would say, without spoilers, that this season did pick up a little bit from the first 2 episodes. It got a little bit better in the midpoint, but near the end, it just kind of fell flat. It wasn't awful, definitely not the worst thing that's come out with Disney Star Wars, but it could have been better. But we'll talk about spoilers in just a minute. Overall, I'm going to give season 1 of Ahsoka a 6.5 out of 10. I would have given it at least a 7 if I felt like the season finale delivered. I just don't think that it did. And we'll talk about it in just a moment. So a slow start with the first 3 episodes. It definitely got better in the middle of episode 4, 5, and 6. And episode 7, 8, I just felt like they were mid. I mean, there's stuff that happened, but it just didn't do it for me. I was expecting a bit more with just 8 episodes. I think that there were times when the writing could have been better, where some things were just drawn out for the sake of being drawn out. And I also think that episode 8, the finale, which we will talk about, could have been a little bit longer. It definitely needed to be, because there were a few things that were kind of sort of rushed at the end. It's definitely better than the first season or only season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's better than the sequel trilogy. However, I just was not as impressed with season 1 of Ahsoka. For the record, I like all the actors and actresses that play the live action characters. Like, I do like Rosario Dawson, but I feel like once again the writing failed her and many of the other characters. It's a shame that this was Ray Stevenson's last bow as Balon because, well, we're not going to be able to see him perform Balon any further since he passed away a few months ago. But let's go ahead and get into spoilers, shall we? By the way, let me know your honest thoughts, views, and opinions regarding Season 1 of Ahsoka below in the comment section. Recap from the first 2 episodes. Morgan, rescued by Balon and Shin. Dark Jedi, we never really find out what they truly are, but Balon was a Jedi. He was a general in the Grand Army of the Republic. Apparently he knew Anakin, but Ahsoka didn't know about Balon. And somehow Balon survived the Purge, Order 66. I don't know if it's ever properly explained how Balon survived. I guess he deserted prior to Order 66. Who knows? And it's not really explained how Balon came across Shin, and Shin became his apprentice many years later. So they steal a hyperdrive engine, and they use the hyperdrive engine. I think it was for a superstar destroyer to get the Eye of Sion, which is this big giant hyperspace ring, very similar to the hyperspace rings for the Jedi starfighters during the Clone Wars, just a lot bigger. And so there's a fight on this planet. I forgot the name of the planet. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of speculation about Merrick, this other lightsaber wielder, about who their identity might have been. Turns out Ahsoka kills it with ease. It was nothing more than a resurrected Inquisitor, Night Sister Magic by Morgan. So we never really find out who Merrick was. It's very similar to what happens to another Inquisitor in the Tales of the Jedi, where Ahsoka kills an Inquisitor very quickly, but it was a cool looking Inquisitor, but it gets dispatched by her post Order 66 while she's hiding. And that is the motivation for her to become Fulcrum and join the rebellion, obviously prior to the events of Star Wars Rebels. So Red Tree Planet, you have this fight break out between Ahsoka along with Sabine, and Sabine is fighting Shin, and she uses some Mandalorian skills against Shin, and then Ahsoka goes after Balon, and Balon actually beats Ahsoka in battle. That was surprising. And he basically knocks her off a cliff, then captures Sabine, convinces Sabine to hand over the navigation ball so that the Eye of Sion can go to Peridia to rescue Thrawn. So Sabine surrenders in order to hopefully find Ezra. So you got Balon, you got Shin, you got Morgan, you got Sabine on the Eye of Sion, and they're about to leave. General Hera disobeys orders from the incompetent New Republic. Can't really say I blame her on this one. So she gets Karth and some X-Wing pilots to go help Ahsoka and Sabine. They arrive too late. The Eye of Sion escapes, and in the wake of the hyperspace jump, I think 2 X-Wings get destroyed. Ahsoka finds herself in the world between worlds with some Clone War flashbacks with Force Ghost Anakin, played by Hayden Christensen. And I thought this was a pretty good episode. It was cool to see Hayden back as Anakin Skywalker. I know a lot of people like that as well. It wasn't a great episode, but it was better than some of the other stuff we got throughout the season. And the young actress that played younger Ahsoka, I thought she did a decent job. I too wouldn't mind seeing some sort of limited live action Clone Wars like special with Hayden and the younger Ahsoka actress. That'd be kind of cool. Doubt it'll happen though. But Anakin teaches Ahsoka a lesson about having to fight, needing to fight or keep fighting. And Ahsoka wakes up. She's in the water. She's rescued by Karth and Hera. And so Ahsoka, Hu Yang, voiced by the talented David Tennant, they summon the Starwells. The Starwells help them get to Peridia. And Hera's going to get in trouble by the New Republic for disobeying orders. But she gets saved at her court-martial by C-3PO, who is there on behalf of Senator Leia Organa. I think that works out a little bit better than having somebody CGI Leia Organa. So I guess C-3PO was the next best thing. And plus, you had a nice little cameo by Anthony Daniels. So that was kind of cool, I suppose. I still feel like the New Republic is overall a joke. So Ahsoka, the white, because she's now wearing all white, and Hu Yang along their Jedi starship, they use the Starwells to get to Peridia. But Morgan, Balon, Shin, Sabine have already arrived aboard the Eye of Sion. They find Thrawn in his Star Destroyer along with 3 Night Sister mothers. Sabine is allowed to leave in order to find Ezra, but she's followed by Balon and Shin. There's also these marauders she gets in a fight with, but she easily wins. She finds some crab people. The crab people lead her to Ezra. And so there's a nice big unification between Sabine and Ezra. And I'll say the actor that plays live action Ezra, I think he did a pretty good job. Ahsoka eventually finds them as well, along with the crab people, Ezra, Sabine. And there's a fight between Ahsoka, Balon again, but Balon kind of just F-offs. He screws off. Eventually, you find him at the end of the season finale, standing by some statues, a giant statue of father and son, and a beheaded daughter. I think that some people were speculating. Sadly, this is probably the last time we'll ever see Balon, played once again by the late Ray Stevenson because he passed away a few months ago. So I don't know how I feel about them recasting Balon. I'm sure there might be at least one or two actors out there that might be able to do the job, but it really wouldn't feel the same. So it wouldn't surprise me if Balon's story might be over at this point. But then again, you never know. But Shin has already parted ways with Balon because Balon's after this end of a beginning or something. I really don't know. And Shin wants power. And, well, Shin was going to join the Empire, but when the Night Troopers that were dispatched to, like, kill Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka were all destroyed, along with the Marauders and the Crab People were saved, she ran off on her howler, which is this big giant wolf thing, because Dave Filoni loves wolves. Look, I like wolves too. Shin eventually finds a camp of Marauders, and I guess she ends up hanging out with them. I mean, you'd think that Shin would have found her way back to the Star Destroyer and went back to the Star Wars galaxy with Admiral Thrawn, but no, she did not. She ends up staying on Peridea. Balon stays on Peridea doing his own hermit thing with the statues. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine are out to try and stop Thrawn from leaving Peridea. Meanwhile, you have the night soldiers, night troopers. They're basically just stormtroopers with all these red bandages on them. They look kind of cool. They're normal stormtroopers, but the three Great Mothers have the ability to resurrect them if they're killed, basically turning them into zombies. Ezra has to build a new lightsaber because Sabine has his old one, and with the help of Hu Yang, he's able to build a new lightsaber. So those three, they ride off on 3 howlers after their Jedi starship was attacked by 2 TIE fighters. Sabine manages to ram the starfighter into the TIE fighters, destroying the TIE fighters, but damaging the Jedi starfighter, crashing it. And so Hu Yang has to repair it along with the Crab People. But I feel like that the ship was pretty badly damaged and I think needed way more time to be repaired than the time that Hu Yang had to fix it. But anyways, Sabine, Ahsoka, Ezra, they ride off on the 2 howlers to the fortress, where above the fortress is Thrawn's Star Destroyer, along with the Eye of Zion, which is being it's being docked, similar to the Jedi Starfighters being docked into the hyperspace rings. Basically, that's where they got the idea from Clone Wars. How original. So Thrawn's brilliant plan here is to delay Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra from getting to him. First, with a barrage of laser fire from his Star Destroyer, they get inside the fortress, and then they kill all these night troopers that volunteered to stop Sabine, Ahsoka, and Ezra. They're killed. The 3 great Night Sister mothers, they use their Night Sister magic to resurrect the night troopers that were just killed into zombie troopers. And, they also turned Morgan into like a Night Sister soldier. She looked kind of like a Great Mother, but then they gave her like this blade that has like the green magic. So she ends up basically staying behind in order to stop Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra as well. There's a fight that breaks out between Ahsoka and Morgan in order for Ezra and Sabine to get aboard Thrawn's Star Destroyer, but it's already pretty high up. So at this point, they're fighting 2 Death Troopers, and they're literally Death Troopers because now they too are zombies. So they've been resurrected by the Night Sister, Great Mothers, and they're kind of losing the fight. And this is when Sabine finally is able to start using her Force abilities. So all this time, she had no Force abilities, never had Force abilities in Rebels. But now she's able to not only use the Force to grab her lightsaber off the ground and stab this one Death Trooper. I think they're Death Troopers. Yeah, they're Death Troopers. Dark Troopers are different. And then Ezra kills the Death Trooper that's fighting him. Ezra uses a Force jump, and then he gets a Force push by Sabine. So now she has this uber Force power ability, whereas a few minutes earlier, she had no Force powers. She's about to jump up onto the Star Destroyer as well, Force jump, and then Ezra was going to force grab her onto the Star Destroyer, but she notices that Ahsoka's struggling against Morgan, who has the Night Sister, Great Mother Power, and this green blade, and the Night Trooper zombies. One of Ahsoka's lightsabers was destroyed by this Night Sister blade that Morgan was wielding. And the Night Troopers just stand around. 1 minute they're actually shooting Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's like blocking the fire. But the moment she loses one of her lightsabers to Morgan, the Night Troopers are just standing there, allowing Morgan to 1v1 Ahsoka without firing a single shot or helping. They're just standing there. This is your opportunity to finish off Ahsoka. She's down to one lightsaber. She's focusing all of her efforts on Morgan. But no, the freaking Night Trooper zombies just stand there and watch. And Morgan's like, you're going to die here alone. And then Sabine, who didn't jump, shows up. Not alone. And then, of course, now it's Ahsoka fighting Morgan and Sabine fighting the Night Trooper zombies. And, of course, Morgan gets killed by Ahsoka. And then they hop aboard the Jedi Starfighter. Ahsoka, Sabine with the Night Troopers chasing them. Thrawn orders the Star Destroyer to destroy the fortress, almost killing Ahsoka and Sabine, but destroying the fortress, killing the zombie Night Troopers in the process. Huyang's Jedi Starship, along with Ahsoka, Sabine, are trying to catch up with Thrawn's Star Destroyer, which now has the Eye of Sion around it, hooked up to it. Thrawn gives Ahsoka some sort of speech and then jumps away back to the Star Wars galaxy, leaving Ahsoka, Sabine, Huyang behind on Peridea. Ezra stows away aboard Thrawn's Star Destroyer. He takes a Night Trooper armor, disguises himself, which he did in Rebels. And somewhere along the way, after Thrawn's Star Destroyer arrived in the New Republic galaxy, Ezra jumped ship on it to a shuttle. I think it might have been Balon and Shin's shuttle. I don't know if he did it on the Star Destroyer or on Eye of Sion. Once again, this episode needed a bit more time. The shuttle is being escorted by A-Wings towards, I think, Home 1, which is currently under the command of General Syndulla. And, of course, they all point their guns at this same starship that I think appeared at the beginning of the movie, where they had Balon and Shin aboard, if memory serves. And the Stormtrooper walks out in the Night Trooper armor with the wraps. And, of course, you know it's Ezra. And I don't know why Ezra didn't just take his helmet off to begin with. I guess it's just for one of these suspense moments in TV shows and movies. Chopper seems to know right away that it's Ezra because he starts making all those noises. And then Ezra walks up to Chopper and I guess puts his hand on Chopper's head and then takes off his helmet. And then Hera's like, Ezra. Then Ezra's like, hi, Hera, I'm home. So Ezra's with Hera now. And I'm hoping that he gets to meet Jason. I'm sure he does, even though nothing was mentioned about Jason between him and Sabine when they were together with the crab people. Because Jason, his father kind of sort of trained Ezra. Meanwhile, Thrawn takes his Star Destroyer and the Great Night Sister Mothers and all these sarcophagus coffins that were stored out of the catacombs of the fortress onto his Star Destroyer to Dathomir. So I guess he's dropping off the Great Mothers. Well, by the way, one of them is played by Claudia Black, Aeryn Soon from Farscape. She was also in SG-1 and some other stuff as well. Since the Great Mothers helped out Grand Admiral Thrawn get back to the New Republic galaxy, I guess he's just going to drop them off along with all these coffins, which I'm guessing are suspended dead Night Sisters. I don't know. They never explain what's in the coffins, but I guess it's left to your imagination. And one of the questions that might or might not be answered in Season 2, if we ever get a Season 2. So Thrawn is officially back in the New Republic Star Wars galaxy. I'm sure he'll be reunited with the Shadow Council, the Imperial Remnant, as well as his right-hand man, Captain Pelion. Well, his right-hand man over the past 10 years is a stormtrooper called Captain Enoch, but in Legends, it was Captain Pelion, and Pelion was introduced in the Shadow Council in Season 3 of Star Wars Mandalorian. Meanwhile, Sabine, Ahsoka, along with Balon, Shin, all stranded on Peridea, all doing their own thing. Balon's doing something on his own, some sort of adventure or pilgrimage, something to do with father, son, maybe daughter, even though daughter's head's chopped off when you see the 3 statues. You do see the owl carnivore bird that represents the daughter near the end of the episode, which is also symbolic of Ahsoka. It's been featured with Ahsoka numerous times in Rebels. So there's obviously a connection between daughter and Ahsoka. Oh yeah, Force Ghost Anakin shows up at the end watching over Ahsoka. Looks like he's proud of her. But that's another thing. So Grand Admiral Thrawn obviously knew about Anakin Skywalker. He knows what Anakin Skywalker becomes, Darth Vader. He's one of the few, besides Tarkin and the Emperor, that actually knew that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader. He actually deduced it because he was his brilliant mind. But prior to that, he knew that Anakin was a great Jedi and a general in the Clone Wars, and he had no idea that Ahsoka Tano was his apprentice. He had to ask Morgan Elsbeth for that information. Are you kidding me? He knew who Balon Skull was, and we didn't even know who Balon Skull was until season 1 of Ahsoka. And the truth is, we still don't know very much about him, unfortunately. He's obviously not a Sith, but he's not a Jedi. Is he a gray Jedi, a dark Jedi, a Bendu? There's so many questions we don't get answered in this season of Ahsoka. Like, for example, what happened in the aftermath between Ezra and Thrawn? How did Ezra get away from Thrawn? I think there's some dialogue near the end of the episode that Ezra mentions. But for anybody that did not bother watching Rebels, most of the time you probably have no idea what's going on with any of these characters or their backstories. And you definitely need to watch Clone Wars to understand Ahsoka's background and how important that series is to fleshing out the prequel trilogy. I mean, for the record, I'm glad that they saved Grand Admiral Thrawn, but his strategy wasn't very brilliant. It was simply just slow down Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra long enough for him to escape. Now, if there is a season 2 of Ahsoka, which is probably at least 2 years away from because of the writer's strike and the actor's strikes, that's going to slow down a lot of production on things already, let alone like season 2 of Ahsoka. We have no idea when we're going to get that. 2024? No, because I think that's when we're hopefully going to get the second and final season of Andor, which was a way better show in my opinion. That might even be delayed to 2025, which implies that maybe Ahsoka we get a second season in 2026 or later. There's also supposed to be a Dave Filoni movie that ties all this together in one epic grand finale. Obviously, the main antagonist is going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. It just leaves a lot of lingering questions. And if season 2 is going to be set on Peridia and not back in the Star Wars galaxy, then what's the point? I like the actors that played the live action versions. I liked Ray Stevenson as Balon, even though that was an original character along with Shin. I thought that Ivana did a great job as Shin. And I guess they're going to have to make her more of an antagonist, especially when it comes to season 2, if it's set on Peridia. And regarding Balon, I guess they just write him off because, sadly, Ray Stevenson passed away. They could recast, but I don't really know if I want them to recast Balon. Mary Elizabeth Weinstein did great as Hera, but I think the problem is, even though I liked the live-action versions of these characters, like I thought Natasha did okay as Sabine. Rosario Dawson, a lot of us have often imagined her as a live-action older Ahsoka. And Lars, of course, coming back to play Grand Admiral Thrawn. He voiced him in Rebels, just like David Tennant voiced Hu Yang in Clone Wars. And for what it's worth, I thought Iman did a great job as a live-action Ezra. So for the record, I don't have a problem with any of the actors or actresses that performed these roles in season 1 of Ahsoka. I feel like that overall, the writing for this season could have been better. I don't really care for the concept of a season 2 of Ahsoka if it's just going to be mainly on Peridia with Ahsoka and Sabine training so that Sabine becomes a better Jedi now that she all of a sudden has force powers. Throughout Rebels and most of this season, she had no force powers. But now she does, for reasons. That doesn't take away from all of her other positive attributes. She's obviously very skilled. She's a Mandalorian warrior. She's very good with a saber. She learned how to use a dark saber. She's learned how to use a lightsaber. She has all these other abilities that you would expect from a Mandalorian. And if you watch Rebels, you also know that Sabine is quite a genius. And she also likes to blow things up. But did she even blow one thing up in the season of Ahsoka? I don't seem to recall. I mean, she did ram into those 2 TIE fighters with the Jedi Starship, but blowing things up, I don't seem to recall her doing that. Seems a bit out of character. Plus, she wasn't doing any artsy stuff. I mean, maybe that was younger Sabine. My concerns about this series going forward is a lot of people feel like that it doesn't matter because of the sequel trilogy, because all roads lead to the First Order, the destruction of the New Republic. So in the end, does this really matter when you still have the sequel trilogy in the Star Wars timeline? Are they just going to keep Ahsoka and Sabine on another galaxy far, far away on Peridia, hanging out with the crab people? Maybe Shin and Balon if they recast Balon? Or will they hitch a ride on a Starwell heading back to the New Republic Star Wars galaxy by the end of the second season? And now that's becoming apparent to the New Republic, especially with General Hera and Chancellor Mon Mothma and Senator Organa, that Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to be a threat, that he's going to, I guess, reunify the Imperial Remnant. Will they be getting the band back together from the original trilogy? Han, Chewie, Lando, especially Luke Skywalker. If there's going to be this heir to the Empire story arc that Dave Filoni is planning, with Grand Admiral Thrawn as the main antagonist, and perhaps even the Great Mothers and these Night Sisters. I'm guessing they're Night Sisters that were in the coffins that they're taking to Dathomir. Maybe they're just going to stay on Dathomir and we'll never see them again, and they're just repopulating Dathomir with these Night Sisters. Even if we never see Claudia Black and her Night Sisters again, we still have Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Imperial Remnant. I seriously doubt that Luke Skywalker would stay out of that fight. So are we going to see Luke and Ezra team up? Are they going to train Jason? Or is Luke too busy trying to rebuild the new Jedi Order while training his nephew Ben Solo, which of course we all know who he turns into? It's just a shame because I think that Ahsoka deserved to be a better show, especially since I think for the most part the casting was pretty decent. Production was pretty good. Directing seemed great as well. It's just that it wasn't at the level I was hoping for. I don't even think it reached Clone Wars level or Rebels level writing. Sometimes it tried to. Definitely nowhere near as good as Andor's level of writing. Maybe just a little bit better than Season 3 of Mandalorian and way better than the Obi-Wan miniseries. And it's sad because it was only 8 episodes, Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. It wasn't like a 20 or a 13 episode season. You only had 8 episodes. But at this rate, I have to wonder if we'll even get a second season of Ahsoka. I think the ratings were okay from what some people were saying. But with the writer's strike, with other issues that Disney has been having, including some other stuff like Marvel going downhill, Star Wars being hit or miss lately, and the fact that we are probably at least 2, maybe 3 years away from a second season of Ahsoka, which already is going to probably have to recast Balon Skull after the late Ray Stevenson passed away. There's a very real possibility that we may not even get a second season of Ahsoka. Dave Filoni may just decide to just jump the gun and just rush straight towards a movie or a new heir to the Empire type trilogy using these characters and this season of Ahsoka and Mandalorian in order to springboard that trilogy. Especially with how many announced Star Wars movies have been canceled. So many of them announced and canceled. There was like an Old Republic one. There was a Rogue Squadron one. There was one by Waititi that was scrubbed. There was a time when Rian Johnson was going to make his own Star Wars trilogy films, but that didn't go anywhere either. I know there's also rumors of a Lando movie, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And yeah, I know that Acolyte will be coming eventually, which will be set in the High Republic era. Hopefully that turns out to be decent. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And of course, Skeleton Crew, but to be honest, I'm not really interested in Skeleton Crew. I'm not really interested in High Republic Acolyte either. But maybe both will turn out to be surprisingly good. But if I can only have one new season of one of these Star Wars shows, like Mandalorian Season 4, Ahsoka Season 2, or Andor Season 2, which would be the final season, I'd rather have an Andor Season 2 because the first season of an Andor was amazing. And I definitely think that show deserves a conclusion, which is going to lead up to Rogue One. So once again, I give this season of Ahsoka a 6.5 out of 10. I really wanted to give this show a much higher score, but it just didn't do it for me at the end of the day. That last episode needed to be a little bit longer. It definitely felt rushed. And to be honest, I didn't really feel like it tied up enough loose ends or answered questions that a lot of the audience were probably asking, especially people that didn't bother watching Clone Wars or Rebels. Your thoughts, views, and opinions regarding Season 1 of Ahsoka, welcome, as always, below in the comments section.